Hi folks, Matt Wilson here for my third video, and today we're going to talk about Jimi Hendrix, the Jimi Hendrix experience, Jimi as a solo artist, band of Gypsys, many of the posthumous releases, and Hendrix has got to be the most overly exploited artist in rock history, since the vast majority of Hendrix purchases you can make are albums or CDs or whatever, which have been released since his death. So let's begin. I got a lot of stuff here, but hopefully I've brought it all out. I'm not forgetting anything. Let's begin with Are You Experienced? This is the American version, different cover, different track, sequencing, and different songs in some cases than the UK version. I don't really have a horse in the race of which is the better version. I think for Americans, you're going to pick this one because it's it's got the singles on there. I mean, most people are going to think of Purple Haze as being on Are You Experienced? This CD has 17 tracks, so it's the whole album and then some. It is not everything that he recorded or released rather before Axis Bold as Love, because Stars That Play with Laughing Sam's Dice isn't on here. But this is a virtual Hendrix's greatest hits. If you just know Jimi Hendrix from songs you've heard on the radio or in movies or in videos, whatever, chances are most of them come from this album. The songs on this album also formed the basis of most Hendrix concerts that you're going to hear as well. So this is a 5-star album if ever there was one. It's not available on CD, to my knowledge, in mono. It's not really wide stereo anyway, so when you're listening to this album, it's not like, oh, there's a lot of stuff coming out of one speaker that's not coming out of the other. It's a stereo recording, but it kind of sounds mono. This is something that someone sent me once of it's a mono LP transfer to CDR of Are You Experienced and Axis. But we're going to get to Axis right now. Axis Bold as Love is his second album with the Jimi Hendrix Experience in 1967. It's another classic, guys. Maybe not quite as immediate as Are You Experienced, but you can't not have a Hendrix library without this album. This is a SACD, which I really recommend because it also has the mono mix. This is a Hendrix family sanctioned release of Axis Bold as Love in mono. Those two 1967 albums of his are the only two albums that have true mono mixes. Electric Ladyland was only in stereo. Or if you find a mono mix of that, it's probably a stereo fold down. Anyways, lovely album. Some of his most melodic songs are on here. If you are one of those people who thinks that his music is too much for you, it's just too much guitar, try this one. Okay, another two classic albums from the man and his band in 1967. One day I'll do a show on how many bands released two great albums that year in 67, because Hendrix is definitely not the only one. Okay, let me come to my favorite album that Jimi ever had anything to do with, Electric Ladyland. Again, this is the American cover, the UK cover with the naked ladies. Jimi never liked that. But this is like a movie for your mind. When I was a kid and I first got into this album, late 70s probably, I felt that there was filler on here. I no longer feel that way. I mean, I've totally absorbed the whole thing. When you have an album your whole life virtually, it tends to do that. I love everything on here. I used to think, oh, some of the songs on side 2 are not up to par. Nah, they're great too. So, but from side 3 on, you know, the second half of the album, it reaches a level of perfection that never lets down. So this is probably the hard rock album of 1968. It's, yeah, I like it better than Jeff Beck's Truth. This, I'll just briefly show you, is Electric Ladyland in 5.1. It's a little box set with, you know, a bunch of stuff recorded around that time. And Live at the Hollywood Bowl, 68. Not that great of recording though. But I do recommend this. It's not one of the better 5.1 mixes you're ever going to hear, but it's so far the only Hendrix in surround sound you can get. Although, now that I bring this up, I've pre-ordered. They're going to do the Electric Ladyland Studios box set with all of the First Rays of the New Rising Sun album in 5.1. That's been announced. That'll be out in September, I think. And I'll probably do a future show where I just do a deep dive into late Hendrix material. When I do overviews like this video, I'm not going into any of the albums in depth because it would take me, this would be like an hour-and-a-half video, and I want to get through it, but I want to give you, you know, a brief encapsulation of all of the releases. Okay, so we're not done with releases during Jimmy's lifetime. As my shirt is showing you, Band of Gypsys is next. This came out in 1970, recorded on New Year's Eve, 69, and maybe even some of the stuff into January 1st, 1970, but all the shows from those 2 dates have been released. I'll also get to that coming up. This is a really great album. It's all live. It's also all new material. He's not with the Experience anymore with you know, Mitch and Noel. He's playing with African-American musicians, Buddy Miles and Billy Cox, and it's still psychedelic, you know, but it's not that kind of UK psych pop, you know, of what the Experience sounded like. I don't know if he would not have continued in this direction, because all of his First Rays of the New Rising Sun material that he was recording at this time and after don't really sound like this. But I do love this album. And this, for a while, was a really, well, it still is a really good release. This is 2 discs of material he recorded at those shows at, you know, Fillmore East. Bill Graham is introducing him. You can't go wrong with this, but it's not complete, right? This is, I mean, I think it is. This is, this box set came out not too long ago. This, I want to say, what's it called? Songs for Groovy Children, the Fillmore East concerts. I think this is all the shows, but I didn't read the liner notes before I started this video. But this is what, this pretty much replaces this. This is, I mean, if you like the Band of Gypsys material, this is what you want. And it's not that expensive. I mean, last time I checked, unless it's out of print now. It is fantastic, okay? To me, better than just listening to the Band of Gypsys album. This came out a while back. The Baggies rehearsal sessions is, this is material that they were recording in the studio leading up to those concerts. So if you want to hear the Band of Gypsys in the studio, this is what you get. And it's got some stuff on here, Hoochie Coochie Man and the Muddy Waters too. It's got some stuff on here that Earth Blues, Burning Desire, which is not on the Band of Gypsys album. All right, so a lot of material if you're a Band of Gypsys guy, like I am. Okay, before Jimmy passed in 1970, well, of course, he had played at Woodstock. Now, I don't have a Woodstock CD because I've got the box set that came out in 2019 of the whole festival, so I have Jimmy's performance. He also did a famous set at Monterey. I've got the Monterey Pop box, but of course, it's not the complete shows of every person that performed there, but I think the whole Hendrix set is on there. And there was a really good album released in 1970 called Jimmy and Otis, Play Monterey, and you get some songs from the Hendrix set and some songs from the Otis Redding set. So I recommend that. But I have that stuff on the big Monterey Pop box, which I did not bring out because I will probably do a show at one point on Monterey Pop. But now the mountain of posthumous Hendrix releases begins. I almost don't know where to start. So I'll start with some of this stuff in the studio. South Saturn Delta was a pretty good release. Late 90s, I don't remember, which I really enjoyed at the time. This was like a look at the material that he was recording before he died, which he never got a chance to release a studio album to follow up under Ladyland. But better is First Rays of the New Rising Sun, which makes an attempt to give you at least a version of all the songs that Jimmy intended to put on the album. To my knowledge, there are people who are far more expert on the later recordings of Jimmy than I am. I have, for a guy that has so much Hendrix, I have what's you could describe as a casual interest in this stage of Jimmy's career. I like this album. Of course, it's never going to be the way that Jimmy would have approved of, because he really spent a lot of time mixing Electric Ladyland before that was released, getting it just the way he wanted. One presumes, of course, he would have done the same thing with this. So these are, in some cases, rough recordings. In some cases, maybe it's more or less close to being finished. We'll never know. It's like discussing the Beach Boys' Smile, which was never released. I like it though. And if you've got everything that I've mentioned so far, you have to have this. And it's better than just getting South Saturn Delta. Now, instead of either one of these two discs coming out, you began to have lots of posthumous Jimi Hendrix releases after his death. Here, this is one of these Russian CDs that isn't even legal, but you have two albums on here, The Cry of Love and War Heroes. I like them both. I like all of the posthumous Jimi Hendrix albums of the 70s. That's what we had at the time. There was many, many more stuff to come, but if you just have the 70s albums, most of the material that he was recording before he passed. Cry of Love's a great album. That's got some essential Hendrix. Freedom, Drifting, Easier. These are all good songs. Angel, Rod Stewart did that and had a top 40 hit in the States. War Heroes is pretty good. Not as good as Cry of Love, but same thing. Bleeding Heart, Tax Free, Stepping Stone, Midnight. Isabella. You need to know all these songs if you're going to be cognizant of Jimmy's catalog. All right, so I can't tell you to go buy these CDs because again, they're hard to find and you can't even get them online hardly, but the sound is not bad. It's not fantastic, but you can, I'm showing you this just to show you that this is what these two albums are called. This is what they look like. Cry of Love and War Heroes. Get them in some way. I do recommend them. Same thing with this. This is another one. This is In the West, which is an outstanding live album. Some of the best live Hendrix that you're going to hear. And then Loose Ends, which also came out in the 70s. Not as essential, but interesting, right? But just for In the West alone, you need that. Someone sent me an In the West Redux, songs that he performed at that Berkeley show, which it was not on the album. It's some of the, like for instance, great version of Little Wing. I always liked his live versions of Little Wing. He does, I'm not gonna say it's the definitive version of Johnny B. Good. Obviously you have to give that to Chuck Berry, but it's so good that in my mind, it like deserves to be like the second best version of Johnny B. Good you're gonna hear. So, okay, and this is the last of these Russian things I'm gonna show you. This is Midnight Lightning and Crash Landing. Now, by this point, they're starting to put on overdubs on Jimmy's original recordings, which is a big no-no to almost any Hendrix fan that you're gonna speak to. But again, you know, because I heard these albums when I was a kid, and I wasn't aware of all the mythology surrounding them, I just kind of ate it all up. They don't sound that bad to me. Now, you can get these songs with, you know, sans overdubs. And of course, I recommend those as well. If you like the sequencing of these albums, get the versions of those songs without the overdubs and make your own playlist. But I do enjoy these albums, especially Midnight Lightning. But Crash Landing's got a lot of good stuff too. Okay, now they're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel, but I still like this stuff. All right, so there you go. We're into the mid 70s now, I think. This is like some, again, people make these things and they send it to me. This is a Midnight Lightning Revisited, where they just, I don't know why I would even show you that, but it's a bunch of songs or whatever he recorded at these sessions. This is probably without the overdubs. And so I like it. Okay, I think in 1990, we had Message from Nine to the Universe. This album's almost been forgotten. Yeah, I said 1980, right? I think, pretty sure that's when this came out. I haven't played this a whole lot in my life. This, what I'm giving to you, is another bootleg. I don't know if this ever got a proper CD release, but these are all the songs he recorded at the sessions that they used for this record. But these are the full length versions of the songs, not the edited ones that came out on the LP. But it's more good stuff, guys. If you're into Jimmy, he has even though he passed away in 1970, and you know, there's been lots of stuff released since his demise, the quality control is still pretty good. None of these albums that I'm showing you are bad. All right? Now, those astute-minded of you may have realized I skipped over Rainbow Bridge. I don't have a CD of Rainbow Bridge. I have all those songs, you know, on other discs, but all I have is the Rainbow Bridge concert. This is all right. I know people that really like this. It didn't blow me away, but again, I'm gonna get into so many live Hendrix releases that after a while, they almost get hard to distinguish in my mind. You know, it's like all the Grateful Dead live discs I had. It's like, I buy them, I play them, I enjoy them, I follow them away, and then a year later or less than that, I can't hardly distinguish them in my mind, like one show from the next from that year. Anyways, Rainbow Bridge concert, the album that was released, Rainbow Bridge, was, you know, studio recordings, but they're spread out amongst other discs here. Okay, so I need to reach out to another stack here. Here's some live stuff. All right, the Hendrix estate, you know, run by Janie, has been responsible for any number of really interesting releases over the past 30 years or so. Here's one. These are two shows, one from 67, one from 68, looks like. All right. It's interesting. I mean, since they're not complete shows, you think, oh, it could be more, but it's still good. I like it. In the 80s, a big deal at the time was the Live at Winterland thingy from Ryko, which we all enjoyed. Now I think that there's even better live Hendrix, but this was the first live Hendrix that had, if memory serves, that had come out in the CD age, and we hadn't had anything in a while. I think there was something in the early 80s called the Jimi Hendrix concerts, but I played the hell out of this in the late 80s. Here's something that somebody sent me. It's Live at Winterland +3. So it's 3 songs that are not on this CD. But it's great stuff. Once you start hearing a lot of his 68 concerts, you realize that he again was playing most of the Are You Experience material with some of the Axis stuff. Like I see Spanish Castle Magic on here. He liked to play Sunshine of Your Love, the Cream song, but without vocals usually. Anyways, pretty good stuff. Here's a live at Ottawa show in Canada. What is this? Is this also 68? Yep, second show. All right, so this is the one that's in mono, is it? No, one of these is in mono, which I'll get to when I find it. Which the performance is good, but I don't know if you need to hear a live Hendrix show in mono. It should have been in stereo, but they didn't have the tapes for that. So again, it's mostly the same kind of material. You know, Tax Free, Fire, Red House, Foxy Lady, Hey Joe, Spanish Castle Magic again, Purple Haze, Wild Thing. The same kind of songs that he did night after night. But the solos are all different and unique. So again, I like it. Here's Live at Clark University. I think this is also 68. Yes, it still is. I think most of the live Hendrix I have is from 68 for some reason. But again, it's more, you know, oh, there's an interview here. Same songs, Fire, Red House, Fox Lady. So this is what I mean when I say that I bought all this stuff when it came out. I wish I had more distinguishing things to say about each release, but you know, it's lost in the mist of time. It's more cool live Hendrix. All right, I don't know what really would differentiate this show from what I just showed you, but I got it all, so I'm going to show you guys. Here's Live at Oakland Coliseum. This is, I wish I had more light in front of me because I can't necessarily see the dates. I mean the year, but I'm guessing this is 68 or 69. All right, 2 discs. Star Spangled Banner, which he was playing More Sunshine of Your Love, Red House. He loved Spanish Castle Magic, didn't he? That was the one thing he seemed to play from Axis. Hear My Train A-Comin', which is lots of great live versions of that. All right. Oh, is this one that's in Glorious? Yeah, this is the one that's in mono, in Glorious mono. So usually I'm a mono guy when it comes to 60s albums, you know, studio LPs, but not too many really great live shows recorded in mono from that era. But there are some, I'm sure, if I thought about it. Anyways, there you go. Jimi Hendrix Experience live at the Oakland Coliseum. All right. This one's okay. This is live at Berkeley. Second show, 1970. Wonder if this is the same concerts as Hendrix in the West. Oh, a song, Pass It On, Straight Ahead. You don't hear that one that much. Lover Man, I don't live today. Mostly the same kind of stuff, folks. All right. I don't remember being blown away by this one, but if I played it right now, I would say it's pretty good. All right. Okay, here's BBC sessions. You know, a lot of bands who were recording in England, mostly English bands, have BBC sessions that you can buy. There's a really good one from the Pretty Things. I just got the Yardbirds 4-disc BBC sessions set within the last month. This is pretty good. I mean, you know, as you would expect, Jimmy rips it up. 2 discs. I don't know if there was ever a more complete version. You know, I mean, is there only 2 discs worth of material from the BBC sessions? I don't know, but I do remember liking this. Okay, this one, folks, I'm going to tell you, I really don't remember. Open Air, Love and Peace, Insil, Femen, Germany, September 1970. Hendrix Live. Killing Floor, Spanish Castle Magic again. Along the Watchtower. That's one you didn't really hear him do live a lot. Hey Joe, a baby message to love, Foxy Lady. So, oh, Freedom, Easy Rider. So since this is from 1970, you do have him doing some of the material which would be on First Rays, The New Rising Sun. So that is going to distinguish this, I'm sure, from 60s live Hendrix. But again, I don't remember this off the top of my head. Sorry to say. I wasn't going to play all these CDs before this show. Okay, this one I don't remember impressing me all that much, this Blue Walled Angel. But again, people like this. I've seen them mention it. 2 discs again. 1970, I want to say. All right, so this would have been one of the last things that he did before he passed. This is Live at the Isle of Wight, you know, which is a famous set. A bit meandering, but again, I bet if I were to put it on right now, I'd say it sounds pretty good. All right, and I think that's it. Wait, nope, I already showed you that. Okay, Winding Down, folks, Winding Down. This is, I don't know what this is. This is a little CD 45 that I got, you know, from the Hendrix estate some years ago. Little Drummer Boy, Silent Night, Auld Lang Syne, Three Little Bears, which he did. You can get that on various CDs. And then a bonus track of the first track that's just extended. Don't remember too much about it. I did like this one. I think this one came out in the late 90s, blues. Some really good versions of stuff here. Hear My Train A-Comin' acoustic. You know, now he did the acoustic version on the Jimi Hendrix movie, if you've ever seen that, from 1973. Born Under a Bad Sign, the Albert King cut. Catfish Blues, Manish Boy. He's liking his Muddy Waters. This is good. Blues was an integral part of Jimmy's music. I don't know if it was to the extent that it has been made out. I remember reading a book in the 80s. Was it Charles Shaw Murray? Wow, I had the title on tip of my tongue, now it's gone. Anyways, the whole book was about Jimmy's connection to the blues. And he had that, definitely. That was an aspect of the songs that he wrote and performed. But he was also a product of his time. He was also a big psychedelic guy. And I think that's just as important to him as the blues. Here's something that Scorsese sanctioned when the blues, I think it was a TV show, or maybe it was a box set that came out, because I have the box set of, again, Jimmy doing bluesy tunes, right? So yeah, the blues was a big thing for Jimmy. And this is a little CD collection of the 45s, you know, the mono mixes. Like, for instance, Bringing of the Midnight Lamp, that the mix that was on 45 is different than the one that was on Electric Ladyland. Gypsy Eyes, I forgot that was even a 45. Stepping Stone, Isabella was a standalone. Yeah, Dolly Dagger, Nightbird. Anyways, if you want to hear the 45 mixes. And, wow, I kind of plowed through that fast, didn't I? I like this. I don't remember when this came out. Late 90s, early 2000s. The Jimi Hendrix, that's just the name of the box. It is called the Purple Box, or the Velour Box by many. This is 4 discs from the glory days of 4-disc box sets covering artists or bands' career. At the time, there was a lot of stuff on here that was unique, and probably still is. But I don't know, I couldn't recall exactly what to recommend to you that you can only find here. But it's a good encapsulation of things that he recorded that are different versions, or, you know, whatever, than the standard stuff. I do like that. Here's some stuff. I think this is stuff that has come out more or less recently. No, these are 2 old ones. morning symphony. These are just morning symphony ideas. These are things that he was recording before he passed. Again, he was a studio monster. You know, he just would go in there, and it must have cost the record label a fortune, but that's why they're still plundering these recordings for these releases. It's interesting. Probably of similar value as Hear My Music. I mean, look at these Drone Blues. Can't remember what that is. Trash Man, that was released. Gypsy Blood, Valleys of Neptune. Some off the beaten path choices. Again, I like all this stuff. Here's Valleys of Neptune. I did like this. This is from the last few years. I think by this point in the 21st century, if I can buy one of these Hendrix CDs and hear 2 or 3 cuts on it that I find are interesting, or different variations of songs I already know but that I like, I'm happy with the whole disc. You know, so this fits the bill. Here's another one, People, Hell, and Angels. See, these cardboard CDs that don't have plastic jewel cases, I buy them, I put them in these Ziploc baggies to protect them. So, but you can see the cover. All right. Again, just stuff he was recording post Electric Ladyland, before his passing. And here's the last one I'll show you. Wow. What is the title of this? Both Sides of the Sky. All right. I also liked this one. Also enjoyed this one. So, oh, one last thing. I never bought the Stages box set from 30 odd years ago, but someone sent me CDRs. It's pretty good. The recording probably could be better, but again, it's live Hendrix. Okay, so Jimi. When I was growing up, say in the 70s, he was regarded as the king, and he still is. If you enjoy classic rock, 60s, 70s, guitar hero rock, it's hard to place anybody above Jimi Hendrix. Even the guitar players of the time who saw him were in awe of him. You know, Clapton and Beck and Townsend, and Jimmy Page says he never saw Hendrix live. Richie Blackmore. I mean, if you're going to put any of those guys above Hendrix or even at his level, understand that they wouldn't put themselves at that level. You know, I mean, Duane Allman, Peter Green, I don't remember them specifically talking about Hendrix, but Jimmy, nothing really sounded like him. Michael Bloomfield was in awe of Hendrix, didn't even want to play on stage with Jimmy. One critic said he sounded like he was from Mars or something. And you know, now that I've had a whole lifetime to process and absorb this music, it just sounds like, you know, really cool, heavy rock, psychedelic takes on the blues, but it's taking it to another level, right? It's not just blues, it's not just heavy rock, it's not just psych, it's Neil Young said that other guitar players weren't even in the same building as Jimi Hendrix, and I understand what he meant by that. You know, now his music, it's not for everybody. I can remember, I'm a teacher here in Los Angeles, and I can remember I had a principal once who has since passed, a great guy, and he was into jazz, and he was an African-American guy, and he wanted me to give him some Hendrix. So I burned him the Are You Experienced CD, probably this exact one, with all the, you know, bonus cuts. I mean, 17. And this gentleman couldn't get into it. He goes, Jimmy, I love you, but it's just, you know, it was too much guitar for him. So, and he was a jazz guy, so that would have, I probably, looking back, you know, hindsight being what it is, 20/20 vision, I probably should have given him something, you know, easier, maybe accessible as Love. But I also figure, you know, if I'm giving someone a Hendrix disc for the first time, that if he's only going to ask me for one Jimmy album, it's probably going to be Are You Experienced. It's got the most songs that you're going to recognize, you know. So I don't regret giving him that. But there hasn't been anybody like him, and where he would have gone had he lived. I mean, obviously he couldn't have kept the psychedelic thing going forever, because that was not a going concern in the 70s. You know, whether he would have gone prog, doubtful. Whether he would have returned to a more rootsier thing, possibly a more bluesier, you know, the way that the Doors did on L.A. Woman. Who knows? You know, speculation is pointless. But I just know that he has enriched my life with his music, and hopefully yours too. Matt Wilson signing off.